Welcome to First Position on Cryout TV. I am your host, Ebony, aka ESPN Ebony, alongside with David and John.
Hey, I'm John, aka Jono, and I'm here with
David, aka Young Mustard. Shout out to all my YouTube fans that are here. This is the show I promised y'all, so let's get it. Let's go.
Let's get it.
With our first segment, we're going to head to David with the harsh truth of the day.
All right, well, so stories have broken, reports have been made. Giannis has officially made it clear that he wants to be the man for Milwaukee. And when I initially heard the news, I was very sad. I'm a huge Giannis fan, and as great as Milwaukee has done over the last couple of years with him and Chris Middleton, Bledsoe, all their young core I should say, I don't think Milwaukee is the place for him to win a championship, but I've given it more thought, more time, and I think a lot of people are overreacting to what Giannis has done because people just want to see super teams, bro. Let's just be honest. People just want to see super teams. They want to see the hot markets get the best players. They want to see the Lakers get Giannis. They want to see the Heat get Giannis. They want to see all these teams. People Photoshop great players in Knicks uniforms just so they can have them on a big market. And to me, that is ridiculous. It makes no sense because you're overlooking so many of these small market teams building great rosters and rebuilding their franchises. Teams like the Bucks, teams like the Nuggets. Those teams deserve way more props and respect than they currently get because every 2 seconds when one of their players say something that they can misconstrue, they want to Photoshop them in some other jersey. And to me, that's ridiculous. We need to praise Giannis for this because if he's the player that we all know he can be, and he already is, because he's already a 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year winner at the age of 25. And that means we need to support him in his quest to get a championship in Milwaukee because people like Jono here, they think that he can't do it. They think it's impossible for him to win a championship in Milwaukee. And to me, I think that's ridiculous. You can't have the resume that he has and not be capable of leading your team to a championship. So as far as my harsh truth of the day, stop trying to force great players to go to big markets just to fulfill your own desires because it's ridiculous. And honestly, it's just flat out wrong. Honestly, it's wrong, bro.
All right, look, I will say this. Giannis is a great player, don't get me wrong. But I feel like he's not, look, for example, AD. We've seen the talent from AD. We've seen, he's this superstar with a lot of talent, a lot of skill set, but he just needed that other piece for him to elevate his game to another level, which is like LeBron or something. But I feel like Giannis is not, I don't want to say he can't be the number one guy on a championship team, but I feel like his partner being Chris Middleton, that's not going to get it done. I feel like
What about Drew?
Drew Holiday is not a superstar.
Oh, well, so Giannis needs a superstar.
Somebody close to that caliber, I'll tell you that. Like a Steph Curry, like a Jimmy Butler, some of these teams that, he was linked to going to in the offseason. The Lakers was a stretch. That's just too much of a super team. But I feel like he needs that other superstar who can lift some of the burden off of him in the playoffs. We know Chris Middleton can't be that guy. Drew Holiday, I don't think, he's a lot more better than Eric Bledsoe, but I don't think
Way better. Immensely better.
But I don't think
Bledsoe is a bad NBA player.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to, can Giannis hit perimeter shots? Maybe not three-pointers, but a 15-footer here and there. And he has shown to not being able to do that. And that's my problem with him staying to come and join him in Milwaukee. And,
here's the thing, bro. People are very adamant about this. They're very scared for Giannis signing this deal. But to me, I believe this is just a situation where he's been very comfortable in Milwaukee. They're the ones who took a chance on him when nobody else wanted to. What was he, the 15th pick or something like 13th?
13 or 15.
He wasn't even a top 10 pick regardless. He had guys like Anthony Bennett taken ahead of him. And granted, Giannis wasn't the player that he is today when he got drafted. But the Bucks gave him that time. They gave him the space to be able to develop. And sure, there are certain things in his game that are huge holes, like the lack of a perimeter game, especially from behind the arc. But you can't deny the fact that it's only been 2 years since he's won his first MVP, which is the first year the Bucks really became like the Bucks that they are today, right? And he has more than enough time, bro. He has 5 years. You tell me he can't get a chip in 5 years? Even if it's Middleton that's got to be his second guy, like, it's not impossible. We just saw the Raptors win with Kyle Lowry as their second best player.
So in those 5 years, what we've got to hope for, if he's going to win a championship, are the teams behind him, are they going to get better or worse? KD and Kyrie are going to be on the Nets for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Stop.
Philly
Stop it, yo.
is going to get better one way or the other. Let's hope Ben Simmons can get something similar to a jump shot. We know they're going to be automatically so much better. If they trade him, who are they going to get? James Harden, probably the best scorer, one of the best scorers ever in the game. They're automatically going to be better. What the Celtics, we see what they're doing in Boston, and they're going to get a lot better. So are we saying Giannis, okay, if he gets so much better, he's going to overtake those teams? No. What I'm saying is that he has to improve his game. Yes, you can, any given Sunday night in the regular season, you can just come run down the court, dunk everything. But once it comes to the playoffs, as we've seen in the last 2 years, they built that wall. And can you hit perimeter shots? Can you hit a mid-range shot and help your team out?
See, here's the thing, bro. When you mention teams like the Nets are a great team, but they don't have the personnel to build a wall around Giannis. They don't have the exact personnel. They have KD, they have LeVert, Jared Allen, and they have DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan is what is this? A couple years left?
Yeah.
He's on the tail end
I
of
think
his
he's on a
career.
one-year deal.
He's on the tail end of his career. Jared Allen, as great as people think he is, he cannot stop Giannis. KD will get torched by Giannis. He does not have the physicality to keep up with Giannis. You need the personnel to be able to do so. And outside of the Raptors don't even have that wall anymore, and I don't think they can even beat the Bucks. Who else there? Philly? I'm sorry, you're not going anywhere.
I think Philly's pretty renty.
You're not going anywhere with Ben Simmons on your team. You're not going anywhere with that.
Let's
Giannis made the right decision, bro.
Let's go.
I don't know. We'll see in the next 5 years. We'll see.
NBA story today. John, how far will KD and Kyrie take the Nets?
I think, to me right now, I think they're the best team in the East. I think they're the best team in the East. And why do I say that is, I think they have arguably the greatest scorer ever to ever play the game of basketball. And once you add that, and I think you add one of the greatest scoring point guards ever in Kyrie Irving, and you plug those two in together, and you can't come up with two guys, small forward, power forward, or point guard, who can lock up KD and Kyrie. And then you add one of the best young shooters in the game in Joe Harris. And then you have some big guys at the back in Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan, and you plug all those pieces together, I don't see any way any guy's stopping that. And yeah, there are a lot of questions about KD's health and this and that, but we've seen from the past couple of preseason games, KD's back. KD is back.
So that's what we're
He's
doing.
back and better. And I think there are a lot of issues about like chemistry issues and whatnot. Just go out there and play basketball. I don't think any of that other stuff matters. You know, at the end of the day, it comes down to, can KD and Kyrie get buckets? And the answer is yes. And can any team in the East presently constructed stop those two? The answer is no. So I think the expectations for the Nets are super high. If you had the Nets and the Bucks right now, 7-game series, who are you taking? I'm taking the Nets. I'm taking them in 6. So like, I look at how all these teams are constructed in the East. I think Philly, you're never going to win a championship with Ben and Joel. So let's put Philly out the way. The Bucks, yeah, you might say they got better here and there, but I still don't think they're that team yet. The Celtics, I think, got worse because, Kemba's going to be out, for an extended period of time. And I don't think he's that much of a difference maker in the playoffs, as we have seen from last season. Toronto is not the same team anymore. The Miami Heat, we think that was a one-season kind of thing, so we don't think they're going to be back. So, yeah, it comes down to the Nets and the Bucks. And KD, Giannis, I'm taking KD. Kyrie versus anybody else, Middleton, Drew Holiday, anybody on the Bucks, I'm taking Kyrie over any of those two. And then you plug all the pieces around them. And mind you, they have Caris LeVert and Dinwiddie on the bench. So they can bring those two off the bench and plug them in. And, they can do a lot of special things. So I think their expectations for the Nets are super high. I mean, the question everybody has now is, can they beat the Lakers? We don't know that yet because the Lakers got a lot better. So I don't think anybody in the East can give them, well, maybe a run for their money, but I don't think they can beat. I don't think anybody can beat the Nets in the East.
Okay, well, I I completely disagree, honestly. I disagree. I agree with some of your points here and there, but the overall premise that nobody can beat the Nets, I'm sorry.
In the
I'm
East,
sorry.
I'll give you that. In the
I'm
East.
sorry. This idea that KD's just gonna come over to the East and it's just gonna be his East, it doesn't work that way, bro. It doesn't work that way. It takes a special kind of player to dominate a
He's
conference.
that guy.
He is not that guy.
What?
He is not that. To dominate a conference,
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant is not the guy that's going to dominate the East because the East is not what it used to be with LeBron. This is not the days where they had the who was it? The Charlotte Hornets making the playoffs, the Washington Wizards with low seeds making the playoffs. This is not those days, bro. These are the days where you got the Washington Wizards as a play-in team, the Atlanta Hawks as a play-in team. Those are teams that are very loaded, top to bottom. They have at least 7 to 8 guys that can legit go out there and give you buckets. So this is not the same East that was back then that LeBron could steamroll every single year.
Oh, okay. Well,
and secondly, that's not even my main point. My main point is the fact that you're just gonna dismay, just overlook the Bucks. The Bucks are not a team that you should just overlook. You have to have, like I said earlier, the personnel to shut down Giannis. Other than that, who's playing defense on the Nets? Who's playing defense? Spencer Dinwiddie?
When you're that great on offense,
Oh my gosh!
not that defense doesn't matter. I think they can hold their own here and there. Not that they're gonna shut down people because they're not. They're not. Okay. But what do teams do with them on the offensive side of the ball? What do you do with KD and Kyrie?
Great offense. I'm not gonna take anything away from
It's
that.
not a great. It's elite. You can't do
We haven't
anything
seen them
with
play
that.
yet. We have not seen them play yet.
Okay,
can't
granted
do-
it's preseason,
preseason, bro,
but
preseason,
you
yep.
look at the games and you look at the schemes and everything else, it's like, whoa, what do you do with that squad on offense? Because, okay, you plug Kyrie in, just Kyrie alone. Kyrie can do whatever he wants with the ball, and there's nothing you can do. You can put anybody on him, Kyrie will still get his. And then you add the greatest scorer, arguably ever, on that team.
But
What do you do with
another
that?
thing that you have to consider that, and I think you agree with me on this, health has always been a big issue for Kyrie Irving. It's not even just KD that people should be worried. I think people should be more worried about Kyrie. Kyrie over the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, hasn't even played 65 games.
Okay.
Over the last 3 years. Last year he suffered an injury that only cost him what? He only played 20 games in the season. So you have to consider health with Kyrie. I expect the other pieces around them to play well. I think they're solid. The only issue I have with the Nets is defense. I think they can be the best team in the East. There's a good chance they could come out the East.
Yeah.
But to dismay the Bucks, as if the Bucks don't have great defenders at every single position, yo.
Okay.
Drew Holiday, DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Brook Lopez. All of those guys, at least 3 of the guys I named are all NBA defenders, bro. 3 of the guys I named.
Okay, I'll address the health issue. Because when you look at KD and Kyrie, I don't think there are 2 fresher guys in the league right now than KD and Kyrie. Because they haven't played in, since early this year? KD hasn't played in probably over a year and a half.
2019,
Exactly.
yeah.
So he's fresh. Yeah, I know he's coming off an injury and whatnot. But we'll see from preseason, KD is back. I'm going to say that again. KD is back. You know,
Y'all hearing this guy.
He's fresher than ever.
This guy said KD's back.
You know, Kyrie played, 20 games last season? So, he didn't play in the bubble and all of that. So, he's fresh, too. And then you at the Nets, they didn't make a deep run in the playoffs. So, they're fresh, too. I think they're going to be a problem to reckon with. I think they're going to be a massive problem to reckon with.
So you just think the Bucks are nobodies? 6 games?
The Bucks, I need to see it in the playoffs first. I need to see the Bucks in the
though.
They haven't done anything. You lost
what
to
have the Nets done,
You
yo?
lost
What
to
have the
Jimmy
Nets done?
Butler.
Gentlemen, let's
Haven't
go
done
to
anything.
our
Okay,
first
haven't done
commercial
anything.
break. We will
Okay.
be right back on Cryout TV with First Possession. Welcome back to First Possession on Cryout TV. With the season approaching, who is to blame for the Rockets controversy? Gentlemen.
You want to
I
go?
want you to go first.
Okay.
He's a Rockets fan. To everybody out there, he is a Rockets, or you know what?
I am. No, I'm
Harden fan?
where he at fan.
Okay.
James Harden fan.
Okay.
And, a lot of people want to blame the Rockets for giving James Harden the treatment that he has received over the years. And let me tell you something. If you don't already know, every superstar in this league gets some type of treatment.
Excuses.
Whatever way you want to put it,
Excuses.
they get special treatment. Montrezl Harrell was just complaining Kawhi and Paul George were getting special treatment. Every superstar in this league gets special treatment. I don't think James Harden is to blame because, first of all, in 2012, when they traded for James Harden, the Rockets were pretty much dead in the water when they got him. And he basically turned that entire franchise around 360 degrees. Like, what, they hadn't made the playoffs in how many years? And then he came in and, well, in the next year or two, they were already a playoff team. And, you know, when you have players like that, when you have stars like that, you got to give them as much treatment as you think, you know, as much as they want, you know, to keep them happy, to keep them safe. You've got to bring in the players that they like. Yes, you know, all this, you know, I want my friends here and that. If you wanted Russell Westbrook, give him Russell Westbrook. If you wanted Chris Paul, give him Chris Paul. Yes, you know, some of them might not like, you know, how he operates, not going to practice, not being in shape here and there. But I don't think James Harden is to blame one bit, because at the end of the day,
one bit. Wow.
He puts up numbers for the Rockets. He's the reason the Rockets have won more playoff games. Since Harden got to the Rockets, he has won more playoff games than any team in the entire league. Any team.
How many finals appearances do they have?
We're not going to go.
No. How many?
Okay.
How many do they have?
Let me ask you this question. What team came closest to beating the Warriors?
That's not,
the KD Warriors.
I don't want to hear
The Houston
that.
Rockets came closest to beating the Warriors.
And they missed 27 straight threes.
But that's what the culture built around them. That's Mike
And who helped
D'Antoni,
establish
3
that
in
culture?
layups.
Who helped establish it?
That's Mike
Thank you.
D'Antoni,
Thank you.
3 in layups. 3 in layups. That was Mike D'Antoni's system.
Okay.
And then you come into this small ball, whatever that was. You know, you take out a center, you put 5 out, and that doesn't eventually work because, you know, Russell Westbrook can't hit a shot in the playoffs. Oh my God.
Don't do that.
Russell Westbrook
we
could not hit shots
We are not about to bring
in the
him
playoffs.
Up. We're not bringing him
Okay.
up.
But
Girls are Russ
at the end of the day, James Harden played his part. He made plays around him.
2020.
James Harden got Clint Capella, something close to a max contract. That's how much he made the players around him a lot more better. You know, he put up numbers. He took them as far as he could. But if you're the only superstar on the team, there's only so much you can do when it comes to the playoffs. When you play a team like the Golden State Warriors, when you play a team like the San Antonio Spurs, there's only so much you can do as a superstar. And, you know, I think, you know, he reached that max, and now he doesn't see anybody he can rely on as a second option. And I think that's why he wants out.
I feel like he's just tired of being there. He wants to go somewhere where he can actually play in the championship.
Yeah, I mean,
and win in the championship. That's why I feel like he's acting out and going to the clubs and doing all this extra stuff just so they can, like, let him go.
Of course, he's somebody that's at the end of his career. It's time to win some chips. You know, the numbers get old.
Let's let somebody with objectivity
Okay, anyway.
answer this. James Harden. James Harden is not 100% to blame, but he is. If you have to blame one person, you have to blame James Harden, because no matter what, you are the best player.
Okay.
You are the superstar.
Okay.
They have given him every single thing possible. They gave him a big, didn't work. Gave him a guard.
Are we talking about Dwight Howard here?
Yes.
Oh,
Didn't work.
don't get
You
me
can talk as much
started.
as you can say what you want about Dwight
Don't
Howard.
get
You can
me
say-
started
Wait a minute.
with Dwight Howard.
You can say what you want about Dwight Howard, but even at the time, he was at the very least a top 5 center in the NBA.
He just got traded off
I
the
don't care.
Lakers.
He was, and in the first year that they played against Portland, him and James were literally going back and forth with LaMarcus Aldridge and Damian Lillard, and James was the one who got outplayed. So I don't even.
Ain't no
you
way
give
I'm
Dwight-
James Harden asking for Dwight Howard.
No, there's more. There's more. They gave him Dwight. It didn't work out, right? It didn't work. Play style wise, they did not fit, and that's fair argument because I know that's what Rockets fans, including you, will say. Fair argument. The fit, right? They get Chris Paul. Actually, let's even go back a little bit. They get Mike D'Antoni as the head coach. They have a career season together. The first year there, James Harden leads the league in assists.
17,
right? No, not that year. The year before, they lead the league. He leads the league in assists. They win 55 games. And what happens in the second round against the Spurs? No Kawhi Leonard, and James Harden goes out there and looks like he's playing for the other team. He was awful in Game 6. People thought he threw the game on purpose.
Career
That's
high
how
10
bad he
turnovers.
was.
Okay.
Right? You go to the next year, 2018, Chris Paul, right? He has Chris Paul. There are so many reports now that have come out, and who knows what's real, what's not, right? But there are so many reports now that have come out that Chris Paul would beg Harden to play off ball, and Harden didn't want to do so. Even going as far as staying behind the court, staying half court because you didn't want to be off ball, that is childish, that's immature, it's lazy. And James Harden the next year, even if you want to say Chris Paul got hurt 2018, there was no Kevin Durant in 2019. No Kevin Durant. And he went out there. He didn't even choke. he just got outplayed by Steph Curry in the second half alone.
Okay.
There is no excuse for James Harden not at least getting to the finals. The finals. That's all people are asking. Just get to the finals. The Rockets have not done a perfect job, but they've given him enough. And I haven't even mentioned Russell Westbrook. Mind you, I haven't even mentioned Russell Westbrook.
Don't mention
So
him.
no.
Do not mention
There is no excuse you can make for James Harden. There's no excuse. It is not the Rockets' fault.
Harden played his part. There are a lot of times in past Rockets season where if Harden didn't put up the numbers he had to, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. They wouldn't have even been
Excuses,
2,
yo.
3, 4, 5
What does
seed.
that mean, though? Everybody's making the playoffs.
You get
yo.
gassed out in the
Everybody's
playoffs.
making the playoffs, though. Steph's making it. LeBron's making it. All these guys are making it. Yo.
Agreed. But at the end of the day, okay, if you bring up that, what, was it 2019 or, yeah, 2019 when they lost with no KD, they still had Steph and Clay. Iguodala,
oh my God.
Draymond Green.
See
they still have.
excuses,
You're acting like
That's excuses.
You're acting like, oh, the Warriors had nobody, and the Spurs one. I'll
Was
give
it a
you that.
winnable game?
The
Was it
Spurs
a winnable game?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
and they
was
lost.
Game 6 and 7
And they
of 2018. So was those games.
You're also forgetting that even when Kevin Durant went out, they got outplayed in Game 5 and Game 6.
Okay.
It wasn't even just one
but
game.
they won Game 5.
They didn't win Game 5. They lost Game 5, remember?
Oh, they lost Game 5 and they lost Game 6.
That was embarrassing.
Okay.
Embarrassing.
I'll give you that.
But
in that series, what was Chris Paul doing? Nothing. He wasn't.
Excuses.
That was supposed to be James Harden
Excuses.
wingman, and he wasn't helping him out at all.
That's
And that's usually most of the case when it comes to the playoffs. Harden has to take up all this load, carry the whole offense on his shoulders, and then his second guy is not doing anything, as we've seen in last season. Russell Westbrook could not help James Harden out. He literally shot them out the game. Not in the game, out the game. They sat in the paint and said, Russell Westbrook, you do you. You shoot that shot. And he couldn't make it.
I wouldn't even get on Russ too much because he did get COVID. I will admit he did get COVID. He did have an injury.
Okay.
You know,
What
but
about
I
Chris
don't
Paul the
believe
previous
injuries,
season?
I was about to say I don't believe injuries are a fair excuse anyways.
Okay.
So Russ just he's trash in the playoffs. That's really just it. Russ is trash in the playoffs. Like I said, I didn't even bring up Russ because it's not fair to get on him for that. But guess what? He wanted Russ. You can't deny that.
Russ
He
didn't
wanted
want him.
Russ.
He wanted Russ.
He wanted Russ. They
let's
wanted to play
correct
together.
that.
He wanted Chris
Russ
Paul.
didn't have a choice.
He wanted Chris
So,
Paul.
let's-
He wanted Russ, and he got them. You can't complain about the results when you're the one who asked for it in the first place.
Funny how he wanted Russ, but he didn't want to stay in OKC.
That's a fact.
Okay, I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, the facts are there. When it comes to the playoffs, Harden gets his. He choked in the Spurs series. I'll give you that. But in most times they're not. In the playoffs, his teammates, well, the number 2 option that's supposed to be his wingman, they don't really help him out.
So what's the excuse for Game 7?
They don't really help him out.
But what's the excuse for Game 7 versus Golden State?
He didn't have Chris Paul.
That's not an
They
excuse.
missed 27 straight
Thank
shots.
you, and he's a part of that.
That's the way the team was built.
Okay,
that
bro.
that
Oh my
was
gosh.
Mike
No.
D'Antoni saying layups or 3-pointers. Nothing else. Layups or 3-pointers.
If you are since Harden is the superstar, right? That y'all say he is. Let me give you somebody. Kevin Durant, right?
Okay.
If Kevin Durant sees that, let's say the Warriors are just off from 3, can't Kevin Durant basically just say, you know what? Forget this, bro. I'm going to take over the game.
Mid-range.
I'm going to dominate the mid-range.
Okay.
What is stopping James Harden from doing that? Even if his coach doesn't enforce that kind of style of play. Harden is what? 31 years old? 30 years old, around that
31.
range? He's been in the league over a decade.
Okay.
He should know better by now that his play style doesn't win championships. Kobe said his play style doesn't win championships. Harden acknowledged that it doesn't win championships, and he's still using the same play style.
But what we fail to realize is people like, oh my God, Harden dribbles the ball 23 seconds out of 24. That's the way Mike D'Antoni wanted to play. And the same thing happened with Steve Nash, in 04 and 05, in the early Phoenix years. Put the ball in the best player's hands or the playmaker's hands and let him do him. Let him create for others. And he did the same thing with Carmelo Anthony. Now he's doing it with James Harden. That's the way. We watched early Harden years in the Rockets. There was a lot of ball movement. There was a lot of mid-range. There was a lot of this and that. But when Mike D'Antoni came, he basically turned James Harden into a point guard and said, you just run the offense. Pick and roll, James Harden, you do you, and, we'll go from you. And, that's how it happened.
Let's go to commercial break.
It is what it is, bro. It is what it is.
Welcome back to First Possession on Cryout TV. Let's get into these NFL power rankings, John.
Yeah. You know what time it is. Are you ready? All right.
not.
These are my top 10 NFL teams right now at this stage, week 14. I think you know what teams are legit and what teams are not. But we'll find out. All right, let's start off with number 10, the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts are they're one of the teams I think could give the Chiefs a run for their money. But I think, with the quarterback, Phillip Rivers, he's prone to have 1 or 2 costly interceptions a game. So, we never know with that. But I like Frank Wright and what he's doing with that team a lot. So I got them as my number 10 team. The number 9, Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry, nobody has found an answer for him. He's going to keep running through defenses. I think if they face the wrong team, they could give them a run for their money. They beat the Ravens last season. I think they can have a real shot this season. Number 8, Cleveland Browns. That's surprising, but, I like what the Browns are doing a lot. I think, their defense needs some help, but, Kevin Stefanski has done a hell of a job in Cleveland this year. Baker Mayfield has been great since week 4 or 5. He's been great. He's toned down on the interceptions. He's been playing great football. I think taking OBJ out that team has freed him up to, spread the ball out and not be focused on one guy. That's number 8. Number 7, this guy here, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Clap.
He wants them to be higher, but I thought they should have been lower than 7. But just for now, we'll keep them at 7.
So disrespectful.
Yes, they have an 11-2 record. Yes, they've, dealt with injuries here and there. But I just think when they were 11-0, they had the second easiest schedule in the NFL. Quality wins was the Ravens that were COVID. They had so many players on COVID.
We beat them without COVID, yo.
So many injured players. They beat the Browns early in the season, which was okay. The Browns got better throughout the season. So that one, you want to say that's a quality win? Okay, I'll give you that. But they lost to the Washington football team, the team without a name. They lost to that team. Yes, you want to say they have a good defense and whatnot. They're not a bad team. Washington is a good team. But you don't lose to that team. You don't lose to the Washington football team. So that's a bad loss. And they just lost to the Bills. Everybody knew they were going to lose. But, that's not on that. They're at my number 7. Number 6, the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh.
The Seattle Seahawks.
My God.
They've been good, but I feel they could be a lot more better on the defensive team.
They're disrespectful.
Jamal Adams coming back
and
plugging him
into
bro. That.
He's not even a safety. He's a linebacker.
Jamal Adams has been great for them,
He's blown every coverage, yo.
They give up a lot of pass yards
at
the beginning of the year. But, I think they've been good defensively. Yeah, that loss to the Giants was a bad one. Granted.
Really bad.
But, they're a team to watch out for in the playoffs. So they're my number 6. Number 5, the Los Angeles Rams. This is one of the teams I think in the NFL, they don't have a weakness. This guy over here trying to tell me Jared Goff is their weakness on the team. And I think if Jared Goff is your weakness on the team, you're in pretty good shape.
Your quarterback?
You're in okay, granted, but he's not a bad quarterback. He's a pretty good quarterback.
Is he top 10?
Top 10, maybe. I would put him in my top 10.
Top 10?
Yeah, top 10. But I think they're a really good team. On offense, they have a lot of schemes. I think Sean McVay is doing a hell of a job with the Rams, and the defense is stacked. Front 4, back 7. You know what you're getting from the Rams defense. With Jalen Ramsey on the back end, you know what you're getting from the Rams, And I think that team, they can make some noise in the playoffs. So watch out for the Rams at number 5. Number 4, New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees is coming back. He's coming back this week, I think the Saints can make a lot of noise. Mike Williams is out for the rest of the season, but I don't think that should be much of, a big deal for them because they've got some threats. Can they throw the ball downfield? We don't know that yet because, Drew Brees, dink and donk, 10 yards, But eventually they have a hell of a defense, in the Saints, They can make some noise. Can they give the Packers a run for their money? We'll have to wait and see. But they're my number 4 team. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. This team right here, the Buffalo Bills, I think they can give the Chiefs a run for their money in the playoffs. I think they're the team. When you look at Stephon Diggs, when you look at Cole Beasley, when you look at the weapons they have on wide receiver, and Josh Allen, a lot of people are not talking about Josh Allen now, but he's one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, and it's about time we start giving Josh Allen some credit. You know, he's got a good coach. He's got a defense now. He's a more mature quarterback, and you know, Josh Allen, he can take that team far. They're my number 3. Number 2, the Green Bay Packers. I don't see how anybody can stop Aaron Rodgers. I just don't see how, with Devontae Adams being healthy now, Alan Lazard, you plug those guys in, oof, hey, that's one offense to reckon with. The Smith brothers on the defensive end, yes, they can be a lot more better on the defensive end, but, you know, when you have Aaron Rodgers, you have a chance, you know. So they're my number 2 team right now. And number 1, is there any doubt who the best team in the NFL is right now? The Kansas City Chiefs. Let's all cut the presses here. Nobody's beating the Kansas City Chiefs, you know. Yes, they've had a tough last 3 weeks, you know. Close game with the Broncos, with the Raiders and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes. When you plug those 1, 2, 3 punch in, I don't see any defense stopping that. And as we've seen in last year's Super Bowl, hey, great defense ain't stopping those 3. So you're going to have to get in a shootout with them. And if you get in a shootout with the Kansas City Chiefs, yeah, your chances are not pretty good. So that's my top 10 NFL teams this year. Let me go through it again. Number 10, the Colts. Number 9, the Titans. Number 8, the Cleveland Browns. Number 7, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 6, Seattle Seahawks. Number 5, Los Angeles Rams. Number 4, New Orleans Saints. Number 3, Buffalo Bills. Number 2, Green Bay Packers. And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wait a minute, Abby.
Floor is yours, my friend.
Before we go on to the next segment, the disrespect that you just showed the Steelers just now. Let me tell you something. It's not even like I have an issue with where they are. It's my reason. It's your reasoning for why the Seahawks are above them. You mentioned the injuries they've had to Jamal Adams.
Okay.
Can't remember the other guy you brought up. But the fact that you're not even going to bring up the injury to Bud Dupree.
Okay.
Come on, that is a huge injury to the
Seahawks.
The Seahawks have suffered major injuries
Okay.
also. Joe Hayden missed the game with the concussion.
Have the Steelers played the Seahawks?
No. But the Seahawks have a lot more quality wins than the.
I think that's why they're so low. They don't have a lot of quality wins.
So we blew out the Browns, right?
Early in the season.
We beat the Ravens.
Early in the
We
season.
beat the Ravens even before the COVID bug hit them.
Oh, okay.
Mind you, our last 2 losses come on a shortened week, bro. We've had shortened weeks because of COVID.
You don't lose
Are
to
you
a
serious?
football team without a name. You don't, bro.
It's trash.
Alex Smith is the quarterback. Can you name one wide receiver on the Washington football team?
That's not fair, though.
Hell no.
That's not fair.
They're
We
not-
were
it's
11-0. We're bound to lose eventually.
11-0 with
Our
the
defense
second easiest schedule in the NFL.
Dude, you got to play who's in front of you. And we've beaten
Granted.
If everybody could go 11-0 with the easy schedule, people would do that way more
Okay.
often. It's not easy to just go 11-0 in the NFL.
Okay.
So you feel like they basically taking the easy way out?
Like he said, you have to play who's in front of you.
Thank
But at the same time, even if some of the teams they've beat, they haven't been good. They've just the first game against Baltimore Ravens, Baltimore outplayed them in that game.
Who won?
Oh,
Thank
Steelers won,
Keep it
granted, but as you've seen, you can't keep getting outplayed by everybody. The Buffalo Bills will beat you. The Washington football team will beat you. And if you meet a wrong team in the playoffs,
It's not like the Bills
you will
didn't
get
struggle
beat.
a bit. But I know they put up the numbers
Yes.
afterwards, but Josh Allen struggled in the beginning of that game.
But we
now.
knew how that
Threw
game
2
was gonna
interceptions.
end.
I know. Well, I didn't know.
I knew. We all knew the Bills were going to beat the Steelers one way or the other. I mean, okay, I'll give you this. They're a good team.
Just
But
like
I
Ben
just don't
said-
think they're as good as their record.
Like, I'm going to look in the camera when I say this. Just like Ben said, all the Steelers fans out there, please do not be worried about this losing streak. It's not even a losing streak. It's just 2 games. It's just 2 games. We've been hurt the most because of COVID. I don't care what anybody says. We have been hurt the most because of COVID. I get the Broncos didn't have a quarterback, but nobody cares about the Broncos. Nobody cares about the Ravens because Lamar Jackson can't throw. So at the end of the day,
What?
yes. At the end of the day, we have been hurt the most because of COVID, and now is the time that we're going to see a lot of that
Wait, you
hurt us
just
the
said
most.
Lamar
So do
Jackson
not be
can't
worried
throw.
about that.
Okay,
You know what I mean when I
listen
said
to me,
LeBron
see,
can't throw. You know what I
Steelers
mean when I
fans.
said
Listen to me. Do not be worried about the losing streak, the 2-game losing streak.
Be worried about these teams y'all need to
But
beat.
be worried about how your team is playing right now. You're not playing good. Big Ben is giving the ball away too much. And let me ask
we
you,
have no
Steelers
running
fans.
game. We have no running
I was
game.
just going to ask them, where is the running game? It's non-existent. How do you go from Le'Veon Bell to having one of the best running games in the league to just not running the football at all? You cannot have Big Ben at age, 30-something, just sitting back and throwing the ball 50 times. That is not a recipe for success. That is a recipe for disaster. You should not be happy with the way you're playing now. Something's got to be done. Mike Tomlin has got to find a way to gather the troops, because if you face the wrong team in the playoffs, you're going to be one and done, and your season's going to be over pretty quick.
Moving on. GM survey says Giannis will win the third straight MVP. Will Giannis win the 2021 MVP? If not, then who? David. Let's go.
Well, honestly, I actually want to hear what he has to say, because he's been a Giannis hater. Since day one, this guy does not want to give Giannis credit for anything. So I want to hear what you think. What do you think about Giannis, bro? About this MVP prediction from the
I don't hate Giannis. Good player.
Great player.
Regular season.
Great player.
But in the playoffs, we know what happens. But that's aside from the point. When was the last time anybody won 3 straight MVPs in the NBA?
Probably Larry Bird, last I can remember.
Maybe Larry or Kareem, somebody. I think with the amount of players coming back now, with the likes of the Kevin Durant, with the likes of Luka Doncic, with the likes of Jokic or players like that, I just don't see how people give Giannis a pass for the third straight season. Yeah, you might have the best record. Yeah, you might, what he's going to get. I mean, what would you see from Giannis this season that you would have not seen from the previous 2 seasons or the previous 5 seasons from Giannis? He's going to get about 29 and 6 a game. I'm not going to be moved by that. If KD averages 30 a game or 28 a game.
30 is wishful.
Okay, and the Nets are, let's say the Nets are like top 3 seed. I don't see how you can deny Kevin Durant the MVP. Or, for example, Luka Doncic, you know what he's about. Walking triple-double, how he gets his teammates involved. Let's say he gives you, 28, 9 and 8, something like that. And his team is top 4. I don't see how you deny Luka Doncic the MVP. And LeBron, who knows what LeBron's about this year? Is he handing over the torch to AD and letting AD, carry this team? If he gives the keys to AD can explode and his numbers could be like way bigger. Mm-hmm. So could we not give AD the MVP? I just don't see a scenario where we can give Giannis the MVP again and he's going to do pretty much the same thing. If we see like Giannis pulling up from 30 and like averaging 30 and beating every team, maybe you'd be like, okay, that's the best player in the league right now. Would you say Giannis is the best player in the league right now? I wouldn't say so. I would. If I'm starting a franchise, Giannis is not
been the best player in the NBA over the past couple of years?
LeBron James.
And when's the last time LeBron's won an MVP?
2013 or so. Okay, granted, but still.
But everybody already know LeBron's the...
Yeah, LeBron is LeBron.
He technically don't care.
Yeah,
LeBron can win the MVP every year if we're being honest, because he's the most valuable player every year.
It's not how it works, man.
But
it's not how it works.
Agreed, but that's another subject for another
though.
day. But at the end of the day, we look at the likes of KD and Luka coming off, James Harden too. Let's not forget about him. What if the Rockets have a surprising year and top 3 seed? Harden's going to get his numbers. How do you deny him the MVP? So I just don't see a way where I think Giannis wins 3 straight. That hasn't been done for a long time, and I just don't see it happening this time around.
Okay, let me just read to you guys some of Giannis' numbers this past year, right? Giannis this past season averaged 30 points a game, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, and shot 55% from the field. And did that in 30 minutes a game. 30 minutes a game.
Time out.
What's up?
Let the NBA in points per game in the paint as a perimeter player.
See, that's
As
why
a
I say
perimeter
he's a
player.
hater. That's why I say he's a hater.
Most
Giannis
points per game in the paint.
That's so disrespectful. That's so disrespectful. You
As a
score how you
perimeter
get it
player.
done, bro. You score how you get it done. Why is
It's not
why
going to
is
work
it-
in the playoffs.
Why does okay?
Granted,
we're not
the
talking about
MVP
playoffs. We're talking
is
about
a
the MVP, right?
okay.
The MVP is a regular
season award. Okay.
It doesn't matter about the playoffs right now. We're talking about the regular season, and as for the regular season next year, I don't see how Giannis is not the leading candidate for that award as we speak. LeBron and AD cancel each other out. Just how it is, bro. They cancel
I
each other
don't
out.
think so.
You can't have two MVP candidates on the same team. It's very hard to do so unless one takes a huge step back for the other one. We didn't see KD and Steph
We don't know
do
if
it.
LeBron's gonna do that though.
If LeBron does that, then maybe. But I still think he's going to average. He's still going to average 25. He's got to average 25 next year. And I think he probably wants that scoring title from Kareem. So he's probably going to have to put a little bit more work.
Numbers.
And there's only 72 games this year, so you never know. But LeBron and AD, I think they cancel each other out. Luka's going to put up MVP numbers. I know that. He did it last year. The only issue I have with Luka is health. And the team, the winning. Because Porzingis is not even, I don't think he's cleared right now. He's not even cleared right now. And Luka's had some ankle injuries last year that cost him to miss some time. So who knows if that's going to be a thing this year. But I expect him to put up MVP numbers. So if that's the pick for anybody's MVP, which a lot of people have picked Luka for MVP, that's fine. That's fair. The only person else that you could argue is KD and then maybe Jokic. And that's it.
What do you think about Damian Lillard?
Some
people think they got better.
Damian Lillard can.
Damian Lillard.
The Blazers definitely upgraded. They got Rocco. They have some nice flexibility in their backcourt.
I would like to see Damian Lillard somewhere else.
I mean, yeah, but that's never going to happen.
Damian
Lillard's never leaving Portland. And I like that mentality, but, let's just keep it a buck. He's never winning a championship with that. But in regards to Giannis, I think Giannis is going to put up the same type of numbers last year. Maybe a little bit less because Drew's on the team. Probably going to take a little bit more shots, but I see if he averages around 27, 12, and 5, just like last year, and he's not even playing heavy minutes. That's what's so crazy about it. The Bucks were dominating teams to the point that he didn't have to play in the fourth quarters, in a lot of the fourth quarters. So if he does what I expect him to do, then I expect him to win his third straight MVP. And if he does that, if Giannis wins his third straight MVP, as much as I love Giannis,
he's got to do something in the
playoffs. You have to deliver in the playoffs.
He's got to.
This whole thing of winning MVPs and going in the playoffs to lose, if you fail again this year after capturing a third straight MVP, I cannot back you like that no more, yo. I can't. It's going to be hard. Now, granted, if your teammates just play bad, you play good, then that's different. But I'm talking like you're held to 18 points, 21 points. I can't do that.
Airballing free
throws against the Raptors. Missing threes, I can't support you on that. But as far as the MVP goes, I think Giannis he'll get it, bro. He'll get it.
Okay.
I think so.
When we get back from commercial break, is Carson Wentz time in Philadelphia over, or is it not? Welcome back to First Possession on Cryout TV. Gentlemen, is Carson Wentz time in Philadelphia done?
Let me go first, yo. Let me go first. Okay, so to people that, follow me on social media, if you're not, go ahead and follow me.
No.
Follow me on Twitter, YoungMustard23, but that's besides the point.
Edit this out.
I've been very adamant about Carson Wentz for so long, and this guy see me, he's been defending him. And I've said for so long that Carson Wentz is one of the most overrated, overhyped, just not as good as people think he is type of quarterbacks, because he's somebody that you see flashes, but you can't see consistency. And the only time that he's shown that consistency is, what was it, 2017? That he went to the Super Bowl. 2017.
First half.
The first half
injured.
before he got injured. He was amazing. He was on pace to win MVP. I believe he would have won it if he didn't get hurt. But ever since then, he has plateaued, clearly. And I've heard people say the offensive line. Bro, he's led the league in sacks allowed, interceptions. That's unacceptable. He's completing, I believe, 57% of his passes, yo. 57%. That is unacceptable.
Okay.
He has 16 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. Mind you, Jalen Hurts comes in and they play the best defense in football. And he uses his legs, and he's way more mobile than Carson, I'll give you that. But Carson is not Tom Brady. He has legs. He can run. Carson just holds the ball far too long. He pats it down at least 20 times before he even thinks about letting it go. He throws bad passes, inaccurate passes, and he doesn't even listen to Doug Peterson. Let's be honest. I remember seeing that photo of And if you haven't seen it, make sure you go and find it. That
Just look
photo
at side-eyeing
of him
him. Yeah.
side-eyeing Doug
Okay.
Peterson, and Jalen Hurts was right in front of Doug. And there have been I've heard Philly fans tell me that Doug doesn't give Carson the full playbook, and he gives his backups the playbook, which is kind of messed up, which I don't believe is true. If that was true, Doug Peterson would have lost his job by now. But regardless, Carson Wentz, the reason that he can't really galvanize his team is also partially on his attitude. If you watch him in press conferences, he takes no type of real responsibility. And considering the fact that the Eagles drafted Jalen in the second round this past draft last year, I wouldn't be shocked if they saw a lot of these flaws even before this season took place. So, to me, I think his time is done. I think it's time for him to move on. I don't know what they're going to do with him because that contract is just awful at this point. I don't believe his time in the NFL is finished because if he can find a different team, because I don't think it ever is going to work out in Philly. Because either they move him or Doug Peterson, and I would never move Doug Peterson, at least right now, because he's already proven he can win. Without Carson, you don't know what you're getting from him. So I think you move Carson out of there as soon as possible. And really, it's just up to how great Jalen Hurts plays the rest of the year and if they're going to get a quarterback or not.
Interesting. Now, I'll tell you why I defend Carson Wentz a lot. Because when you look back at that 2017 season, you saw a star, somebody in the make, somebody that had talent, somebody who could make off-the-script plays in Carson Wentz. He was an MVP candidate. You're not just an MVP candidate if you're like a one-season wonder or like you're a scrub. You're pretty good if you were like, I think he was number one on the list at that time. I think 7 or 8 games had been played halfway to the season, and he was number one on MVP list.
He was great.
He was great. And I don't think that guy, the fall off, like Max Kellerman likes to use, the cliff, can be that far off from 2017 to 2020. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at this season, you look at the offensive line, and you want to say, oh my God, you look at Jalen Hurts last week. Why can't Carson Wentz do that? Okay, pump the brakes. Carson Wentz is not a Jalen Hurts type of player. He's not a Lamar Jackson type of player. He's not a Kyler Murray type of player where like you're so scared of their legs. They can use it if needed, but that's not his game.
But 50 sacks?
That's not his game, though.
50 sacks?
Now, when you look at some of the weapons he had at wide receiver spot, in that year, Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey, those guys were healthy. Those guys were catching the ball. Who was Carson Wentz throwing to last year? A makeshift wide receiver. Somebody who played quarterback. Practice squad player. Somebody who played quarterback in college. Boston Scott, a 5'6" running back. That's who Carson Wentz was throwing to last year. And I think he's gotten fed up. He's gotten fed up with the way the organization has treated him over the last couple of years. They decided to keep him over Nick Foles. So I don't even get the Jalen Hurts draft because you had wide receivers. You had Brandon Ayuk. You had Justin Jefferson in between the Phillies pick when they drafted Jalen Reagor. We're still waiting on him to finally come through. And Jalen Hurts in the second round. You have all these playmakers at wide receiver spot coming out of last year's draft. And who you do draft? Jalen Hurts. You're sending the wrong message to your franchise quarterback that, yeah, we're not really sure if you're the guy or not, so we're going to draft a quarterback. Yeah, we know you need a wide receiver, but we're not going to draft a wide receiver. We're not even going to go to free agency and get a wide receiver. We're going to draft a quarterback for you to, and that's why I think we've got to pump the brakes and actually take a look at the organization and say, this is from the top and not from Carson Wentz. Yeah, Carson Wentz he's had a lot of bad plays. He's thrown a lot of picks. He's taken a lot of sacks where he could avoid it. But still, you've got to look at organization. And if you're somebody who watched Philadelphia like me a lot over the last couple of years, you know that when somebody older than Carson Wentz is in the ball game, Doug Peterson calls a totally different ball game.
Oh, no.
He calls a totally different ball game when somebody else is like in 2017, 2018 when Carson Wentz.
Wentz doesn't audible?
when 2017, 2018, when you watch Carson Wentz, you're like, okay, he's good. But for some reason, when another quarterback comes in, it's like, whoa, where were all these plays when Carson Wentz was in the game?
You probably don't like him.
Exactly. So he doesn't audible?
Some of the games, some of the plays I was watching from last week when Jalen Hurts, you're like, whoa. Doug Peterson don't call those plays for Carson Wentz. Some of the quick slants, get the ball off his hands quick here and there. Doug Peterson don't call that. But I think using last week's game against Carson Wentz, it's not really fair because more times than often where we see when you make a big change like a quarterback or wide receiver or corner, it energizes the team. You know, it makes people want to play hard more. I don't want to say Carson Wentz has lost the team because
he's lost the team. He's lost the team.
Maybe not, but he's still a very good player.
You want to know why
There's still a really good player in that team. And if you ask me,
no.
I think Doug Peterson has got to be the one to go because you can find a lot more creative minds out there.
You're getting rid of Doug?
I'm getting rid of because I can't do anything with Carson Wentz's contract.
Tripping.
I can't do anything with that contract. So I'm moving Doug Peterson instead of Carson Wentz.
Coach. You never move the coach.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
I mean, he does have a Super Bowl ring, but I think
with a backup,
Carson Wentz is just that good. When you put the right pieces around him, I think he can make something happen.
No. Carson Wentz, he's had multiple opportunities. It's time to move on from him. He's a bum. He's playing like a bum right now, dude.
A bum?
He's playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in history.
He was a former MVP candidate. Not saying that. Okay.
But he's trash right now. He's playing really bad.
Okay, he's had a bad stint. I'll give you
Okay,
that.
but with the coaching, I mean, he might not like it, might change up the style of play, but as a quarterback, you're supposed to read the defense. You can make your own play. You don't have to go off what he's saying. You can say, okay, I see this. Let's do this.
Okay, but when you're what? What are they? 4-7-1?
4-8-1.
4-8-1. When you're 4-8, well, they were 4-7-1 when. Actually, they were 3-7-1.
3-8-1.
Wow, they were that bad. 3-8-1. When you're 3-8-1, you don't have the right to change the plays at that point because when you're taking so many sacks, you have the most yards allowed due to sacks. You've thrown the most interceptions. You're completing less than 60% of your passes. He's only had 4 games completing 60% of his passes or more. 4 games out of his 11 or 12 that he's played so far. This guy has played awful. Sure, you could mention the play calling and all of that, but those are just factors that did contribute. But Carson Wentz was already regressing. Since 2017, he's been regressing. That's just a fact.
The team as a whole has been getting bad.
So why do they play better with backups?
Jalen Hurts nice.
No,
okay.
He's not ready to be a starter.
Let's pump the brakes. Jalen Hurts has had 6 good quarters this season.
Thank you. He's not enough.
The second half against the Packers.
I agree with you.
They
lost that game anyway.
They lost that game in the game against the Saints. So I don't think we can say, oh my God, Jalen Hurts is the guy.
I'm not saying he's just
but
good.
Backups,
exactly.
Why do they play better?
I think
they don't.
They energize the team in a different way, and
they won a Super Bowl without him.
Look at the receivers Carson Wentz is playing with this year. A rookie wide receiver, a hobbled tight end in Zach Ertz, and who else? Makeshift quarterbacks. Greg Ward Jr., who was a quarterback in college, and Boston Scott. Who are any of these guys? You had a chance to go in the draft and draft playmakers, draft players.
They could have traded up for CD. They really
a bunch of people. Justin Jefferson was there to take, and they decided not to take any of them, and they went and drafted another quarterback. And I just think that's sending the wrong message to your franchise playmaker at quarterback and you know the players you need, so why not go draft those guys? But no, you go and draft another quarterback. And I just think they're sending the wrong message to them. And I'll rather, because I know what Carson Wentz is about, so I'm not letting that go. And especially with that contract, I'm not letting that go. So I'm getting rid of Doug Peterson.
So why is he getting outplayed by Daniel Jones?
His team as a whole is bad.
It doesn't work that
way. The team as a whole is bad.
He's embarrassing.
But he's
embarrassing.
You can only do so much.
He's embarrassing.
You can only do so much. No, and you know this is the NFL, and if you don't have playmakers at both wide receivers, because your quarterback can only do so much for you. Even if he can
do the most.
Dart the ball. Okay,
he does the most.
But who does he have to play with? That's my question.
No excuse. If Carson Wentz was the guy, dude, Carson Wentz should be on the level of guys like Pat Mahomes by now. He should be on the level of guys like Deshaun Watson.
Because you see the talent. You see what he's capable of.
I see the hype. It's
not just the hype.
You
see what he's about.
He's never even won a playoff game. He's never won a
been
playoff
injured.
game. And that's another thing about Carson Wentz. He's
Okay,
also injury prone.
Okay, yes.
Carson Wentz has
health.
too many red spots, too many red flags to where I can just look at him and say, bro, where is all this hype coming from? Because of that was 3 years. 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Okay, but still, that small sample size, I think that was enough to take into account of what he's about, of what type of player Carson Wentz can be. And I think when you take all of that into account, and you think, okay, we're not gonna put the great ones in the game right now. Look at their weapons and tell me if they're not the reason. You give Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, you give Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. We see what the addition of Stephon Diggs has done to Josh Allen.
But he was showing progression even before Stephon came.
Aaron Rodgers.
But fair. That's fair.
Devontae Adams.
Okay, Aaron. Don't mention Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers can do it with backup.
There's levels to this.
There's levels.
But Russell Wilson, last year the Seahawks, they were no good. Now you went and got him DK Metcalf. Now see what he's done with that. You went and got Jared Goff, playmakers. Now see what he has done with that. Who do you go get Carson Wentz? Jalen Hurts. You know what I'm saying? So, I think
that's no excuse.
I think we've got to pump the brakes
even when you look at the
here.
run game, they don't even utilize the run game the way they should, which I give Doug Peterson blame for that. Guys, I just want to say this one quick stat before we leave. Like I said, it's been 3 years since then, and people are still bringing up this MVP season. 3 years ago, Nick Foles was the Super Bowl MVP.
Okay.
3 years ago, you want to know how many days that is? That's 1,095 days. We have moved on, bro. It is almost 2021. It is almost 4 years since that.
I still think there's a special
It is time to move on. It is time to move on.
I think there's a special play.
Okay, gentlemen, moving on. What are your NBA opening night predictions? Lakers, Clippers, Nets, Warriors.
Well, let's start off with the Nets and Warriors first.
Let's start off with that.
I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. For those who do not know, that is my favorite player. You're a Russell Westbrook fan. Come on
Russell
now.
Westbrook with dunk on.
We're not even getting on that. Regardless, though, I'm a big Steph fan. I don't think they have enough pieces to really be a guarantee for the playoffs or anything. And looking at the Nets, they're a pretty great offensive team. So I'm going to give the Nets the win in this. I don't know what the score could be. It'll probably be like, it's opening day, so who knows? Maybe 120. They might come out and drop 120. They might come drop 100, but
yeah. I think these are two teams with a lot of uncertainty going into the season. You know, people have questions with the Nets about team chemistry. Who knows if James Harden is going to get traded there? You know, how healthy can they be? You know, going up like the 7-2 game series.
Oh, you mean chemistry? You mean with Kyrie Irving being Kyrie Irving?
Kyrie being Kyrie. You know, and you take all of those into account, and you okay, if the Nets can stay healthy, if Kyrie can just,
be Kyrie.
If Kyrie could just be a little less, vocal about a lot of issues, and, just keep playing basketball, building the team, they can be a good team, a really good team, and they're one team to beat in the East. And, also the Warriors, you take that into account. What are the Warriors going to do? Are they going to make the playoffs? Are they not? I think they can if we get a big year from Andrew Wiggins. But we've been saying that for years. I agree. We've been saying that for years. And I think the addition of Kelly Oubre, that added another element of defense 3 and D to the Warriors backcourt. And
a legit wing defender.
A legit wing defenseman. Who knows what we're going to get from James Wiseman, the rookie coming out of Memphis.
I believe he's going to win the Rookie of the Year.
LaMelo Ball, we'll see. We'll see about that. But, the Warriors, Draymond Green, you take all of those into account. Steve Kerr's still there. They have a lot of playmakers. If they can stay healthy, if they can, fit all those pieces together, the Warriors can make some noise. Not championship, but they could make the playoffs. But yeah, these two teams are, both teams come in with a lot of uncertainty, and it's something to watch for open night. But I'm obviously gonna go with the Nets because Kevin Durant.
Lakers, Clippers.
Lakers.
Honestly,
it ain't even Lakers.
This could really go either way on an opening night, but I'm going to go with the Lakers because I think, or actually, no, my bad. I meant the Clippers. I'm going to go with the Clippers because I think, this is just a bold prediction of mine, I believe, at least before the playoffs, Paul George will have a monster season. Yeah. He will have a monster season. Yeah. I think all this hate that he's gotten, bro, there's no way he can just allow that to just happen and not have a
Like
monster
all this
season.
hate Russ getting, he's not gonna allow
Russ
that
is
to
different
happen.
because Russ is.
He's
we
not
know
gonna
what
allow
Russ is
y'all to
about.
talk about him.
We know
Russell
what Russ is
Westbrook.
about. Like at least with Paul George, he's just missing shots. Russ is just making dumb plays. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So PG, he just has to get his confidence up. And even in 2018, when they played Portland, you know, he wasn't great defensively. He was getting cooked by Dame and CJ. But offensively, he did play well in some games. So maybe if he gets into that bag, you know, his 2018 mindset, I think he can be really good. And I got the Clippers in this game, but it ain't by much. It's toss-up, honestly. You can go either way.
Well, I'm going with the Lakers. And why? Because you look at AD in the preseason game he played. I'm going to tell y'all this. AD is going to have a big, big year. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, do you have an answer for AD? And I look around the league and I say, no, you don't have an answer for AD. And the Lakers coming off a championship, I think they added the most pieces this offseason. They added the most players. You get a big guy in Montrezl Harrell who can give you about 15 a game. You get Dennis Schroeder, who's another ball player that can create his own shots and who can create for others too. You know, you add that, and then you add Kuz, they got a surprising player in
I think Kuz will have a good
Horton Tucker. Who knows how many minutes he's gonna get this year? Hey,
THT,
you know, I think the Lakers are a very surprising team because I'm not believing the Clippers till I see it because pandemic P, we know how that gets in the playoffs.
Way off P.
We know how that gets in the playoffs. But I think, you know, the addition of Serge Ibaka, you know, created
Huge
another
pickup.
huge
Kennard,
pickup.
Luke
But
Kennard.
I don't think that's what they needed. I think they needed a point guard, a legitimate point guard who can create the ball for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I think that's who.
Rondo.
They could have got Rondo. I don't know why they didn't get him, but they could have got that type of. I think that's the type of play that they needed to add, you know, in order to, you know, elevate their game. Because whatever point guard that's there now, they're gonna do the same thing: dribble the ball up the court, pass it to Kawhi, pass it to Paul George, not actually create, like, run the offense, you know.
What about Chris Paul?
Chris Paul is with the
Paul is
Suns. He's with the Suns.
They
They didn't get him. And, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna get from the Clippers this year. I think I'm gonna get the same thing, but at the end of the day, I just look at that two-headed monster in Los Angeles, and I don't think there's anybody out west right now that can beat those two in LeBron and Anthony Davis.
I mean, I agree. I think they're the best team in the NBA.
They are.
Honestly,
They are.
I think they're on pace to really three-peat at this point because I don't see anybody really stopping them.
We will see.
But as far as opening day, I just think Paul George he's got to come out with the vengeance, bro. Like he's got to hoop. I think he's gonna kill it that day.
I mean, I think Paul George is gonna Paul George. I don't think
he's gonna choke in the playoffs.
We know. He's gonna give you 25 to 27 a game. I think right now, you know, share some of the wealth for Kawhi. But you know, I think the Clippers are just gonna be exactly what they need to be, right behind the Lakers. But it all comes down to, can you defeat the Lakers? And I just don't think they have enough pieces for that right now.
That's fair.
Thank you for tuning in to First Possession on Cryout TV. I am Ebony alongside with David and John, and thanks for watching.